We're getting a new look at evidence in the Trayvon Martin shooting case. Some court documents, new court documents revealing a few new items, including these. The medical examiner says there were traces of marijuana in Trayvon Martin's system. Eyewitness accounts of the shooting are not consistent at all. The one shot fired from Zimmerman's gun, which killed Martin, was fired from a distance of 1 to 18 inches. Martin's autopsy also revealed an abrasion on his finger, another indication, some say, of a possible struggle, but it's inconclusive as far as where we are right now. The Sanford Police Department also releasing a series of photos like this one. You can sort of make it out on your screen. It's a photocopy of a photo. This is showing George Zimmerman on the night of the incident, which shows apparently Zimmerman's nose being injured. Joseph DiBenedetto is a criminal defense attorney. Doug Burns, a former federal prosecutor. And certainly a lot to look through here, gentlemen. So I'm just going to ask you generally, Joe, starting with you. I mean, what stands out most to you from all this new evidence we're getting a look at?
The clearest thing that stands out to me, Jenna, is this is a prosecutor who was overzealous and who bowed to political pressure and media pressure and overcharged the case. This is a case that, as the evidence just showed, everything you just highlighted, shows that they cannot prove this case beyond a reasonable doubt, and it's a dead loser for the prosecution. To me, the location of the injuries clearly spells out this point. Injuries, a fractured nose, injuries to the back of Zimmerman's head clearly shows to me that there was a struggle, and in fact, Trayvon Martin may have had the better of Mr. Zimmerman at a certain point during the dispute. As we see in the photos here, the injuries show that there was a struggle. A fractured nose, injuries to the side of the head. This spells out reasonable doubt.
Doug, what do you think? Do you agree with that? That when it comes to, there's a lot of evidence to look at. We presented some of it just as straightforward as we can, Doug, because it seems like no matter what you say, it could shift someone's opinion of what happened here. But Joe brings us back to beyond a reasonable doubt. So as the prosecutor here, what stands out to you, and do you agree that the reasonable doubt part is going to be tough for the prosecution to prove?
I agree and I disagree, and here's why. I agree that the case was overcharged, but if it was a manslaughter case, the defendant would face two really big problems, okay? The first problem is that when he called into the police, they told him, do not follow this kid any further. That is going to be a huge fact that's going to really hurt him. The second one, of course, is that when you boil it down to the core of self-defense is driven by using force that's commensurate with the force involved. This was, to keep it simple, basically a fist fight. And if he has lacerations on his head and even a broken nose, the fact of the matter is you can't retaliate by pulling out a gun and killing somebody. Having said that, though, I agree with Joe. Second-degree murder is basically swinging for the fences, like in the Casey Anthony case.
So then what happens? Can they change that? I mean, once the that's the case moving forward, do you anticipate a change because of some of the new evidence that, again, the public is finally getting a look at, Doug?
Well, theoretically, they could alter the charge and drop it down, but as Joe points out, and he's so right, there's so much of a political calculus in this case, all of the emotion, some of the racial dynamic and element in it, and the fact of the matter is that this prosecutor, I mean, I've said 100 times, politics and prosecuting don't mix. So, I mean, will they drop it down? Unlikely, actually, in my opinion.
Joe, we got an opinion as well when we were looking at some of the new evidence from Dr. Bodden. He's a well-known forensic pathologist, and we were asking him because it was interesting that it stood out to us that the medical examiner mentioned marijuana in Trayvon Martin's system, and Dr. Bodden wrote us and told us that he doesn't think this is a factor at all. It's a small amount. It could have been days ago, and he doesn't feel, in his professional opinion, it's even relevant to this case. But it shows just how there's different pieces being pulled together about who these two people are. Again, as the defense, where do you go when you look to defend your client, which would be George Zimmerman, and you have this dead child that you have to present to a judge and jury? How do you tread lightly there to get your client off, but also not seem inappropriate, quite frankly?
Well, Jenna, you raised a good point. As a criminal defense attorney, what I would be looking to show here is that there was a struggle, okay? And we see photos of Trayvon Martin wearing a hood, and he has that baby face. But there are facts that dispute what appears to be somebody, an innocent 17-year-old. And one of the most important facts, in my opinion, is that there are trace amounts of marijuana in his system. to me, just picture it from the perspective of a prosecutor. If Zimmerman had traces of marijuana in his system, that's clearly something that the prosecution would jump all over. So as the defense attorney, that's something that I want to bring out as well.
Interesting. Joe, Doug, we'll continue to watch this case. This is, again, the first batch, a real batch of evidence we're seeing, and we'll look forward to having you back to look through some more. Thank you both very much.
Thank you.